everyone, we're back and we're going to be talking a little bit about knife safety. Keep in mind that this would be the knife safety that I would teach you guys while in class. So some of the rules that I have established here obviously are going to be a little bit different than the rules that you guys have at home. But do you know this is all done for your safety and to maximize using knives in a safe manner? So the basics about knife safety. Number one, knives are sharp, and if they're not sharp, then they're not safe. The sharper the knife, the safer it is to use. I know that seems kind of backwards because a dull knife, if you're thinking about it, would take it wouldn't always necessarily cut through your skin. However, when a dull knife does cut through your skin, the cut is a lot more jagged, has a higher risk of infection, and what it does, it actually tears your skin apart rather than a clean slice through. Also, it means that you would have to use more pressure using a dull knife than you would using a sharp knife, which means you have more of a chance of the knife slipping and accidentally cutting your fingers. So, bottom line, dull knives bad, sharp knives good. Always use a cutting board. If the board is unstable on a surface, you can get a damp paper towel, wring it out, make sure for real it's damp and not wet. And you can actually put that underneath your cutting board and then put the cutting board on top, and then you can actually cut it. And what it'll do is it helps kind of create a suction so your board's not moving all over the place. That's also why if you guys take a look at it, if you guys do tend to use the plastic cutting boards, they tend to have the rubber grips on the sides of them, and that's actually to help prevent the movement. So if you have an old school one, place a damp paper towel underneath it, and that will help. Make sure you're always paying attention. Do not be sidetracked when you're trying to chop vegetables or cut meat or anything like that. Ideally, you should always be cutting away from yourself. Using a paring knife, which is about a little 2-inch blade, 3-inch blade on there, that's a special case, and that's because you get better control, but you're also not trying to slice so quickly. Paring takes some time, and you should be very, very careful whenever you are paring. Use knives only for cutting. Knives are not meant to be used to open up bags that you can't get open because you can't find the scissors. Knives are not meant to open metal cans because that will cause an absolute injury, and it is not going to be a pleasant one. And knives shouldn't be used to scrape things off or anything like that. Knives are meant to cut things, and that is it. Whatever you do, make sure you never catch a falling knife. It is just smarter and safer to just let it completely fall. Again, it is so much easier to replace a knife than it is to replace a toe, or than it is to replace a finger, okay, or get stitches. It's cheaper, it's not a hospital visit or anything like that. So if a knife starts to fall, just back up and let it fall, okay? Do not put knives in the sink, especially if the sink has hot soapy water in it. You definitely do not want to put the knives in there because you can't necessarily see it. And out of habit, what we do is when we tend to finish up all the dishes and we go to put our hands in there to make sure that all the dishes are completely done, we tend to scrape our hands along the bottom. As you're doing that, there's a knife left in there. You run the risk of slicing the tips of your fingers or slicing your knuckles, anything like that. So we don't put knives in a sink. You shouldn't do that at home either. Place a knife off to the side, wash it separately, dry it, and then put it back either in your knife block. If you have knife covers, put the knife cover back on and things like that. Just make sure that the knife is protected, and that means you're protected. We also want to make sure that we do clean knives carefully, that we're not holding that blade facing towards us, that the blade is facing behind us. And we're going to look at the parts of the knife to kind of help explain how you should be holding this. Make sure you do store them in a safe place. At school, we have a locked drawer that you guys cannot get into. I'm the only one with the key. At home, make sure that if they are in a drawer, they're in a special compartment, they're off to the side, or they have covers on them. Or if they're in a knife block, make sure they're out of reach of children, and that all the knives are in their proper slots on the knife block. And then lastly, when you are walking and carrying a knife, make sure you carry it properly. It should be down at your side with the blade facing back. Again, if it drops, at least it's only dropping from about 2 or 3 feet of height. We're not walking with it straight out, or if somebody comes around the corner too quickly, you accidentally kind of poke them. So you want to make sure that you have that blade facing back and it's down to your side. So here are the basic parts of a knife right here. So we do have this very tail end right here, and this is actually called the butt. And yes, it is truly called the butt. I swear I'm not trying to be funny. You guys know I'm hilarious, but this is literally what it's called. Okay, and then right over here, you have this entire handle. So this whole section right here is your handle. And then down below, you see this kind of white section. This is to represent the metal. This is called the tang. So essentially how knives are kind of quickly made is, think of it like a big cookie cutter. Okay, they're the little cookie molds, and they kind of stamp them out in the shape of a blade. And then what they do is they later sharpen it, file it. They use the heating process and cooling process to strengthen it. But basically, the point is, though, is that this entire piece is one long piece. And then what they do is they encapsulate it by putting the handle over it. These three little circles are called the rivets. That's what helps keeps your handle in place, but it just makes it stronger all around rather than here's a handle. Let's attach it right here. Here's your blade. Whenever you go and attach things, those are always going to be weaker than if it was one solid piece. So that's how they ended up quickly making them, is they end up doing typically a big kind of stamp out of it, and then they encase it in the handle. So you've got the butt, the whole handle here, and then the tang is the metal part that runs down it. This piece right here is called the bolster. It's also called the shank. Up here, you have the heel in this kind of generalized area. And then on the back side, the non-sharp side is called the spine or the back of the knife. Either one is fine. Down here, you have the edge or the cutting edge. That's, of course, the sharp part. Make sure that you're very, very careful with that. We're not playing around. And then up here, you've got the tip, which is kind of like this whole section. And then, of course, at the very, very, very top of it, you've got the point of the knife. This section too, you guys might also hear it referred to as the belly of the knife. The whole thing is called the blade, but looking at these ones, these are exactly the words I want you to know. So you got point, tip, edge, spine, heel, bolster or shank, the tang, the whole handle, and the butt. Okay, so how to pass a knife. This is the way that I have deemed the safest for our class. Do keep in mind that there are a lot of you guys in that kitchen, and that kitchen fills up very quickly. And unfortunately, we're not in there right now for you guys to kind of get the feel of it. But the safest way that I have determined to pass a knife in the class is that you're actually going to place a knife on a clean, open countertop, and then you're going to let the other person pick the knife up from the countertop. At home, it may be done differently. Whenever you start if you work in the food service industry, they may teach you another way how to do it, but this is the way that you guys would learn in my classroom. So you lay it down, they'll pick it up. Do keep in mind that all of our knives also have covers on them. So because the covers are on there, whatever you do, don't put a dirty knife back in the cover. Make sure it's washed. If you do accidentally put a dirty knife back in the cover, make sure you wash the cover as well. Okay, we want to make sure that we want to reduce our risk of cross-contamination. So ideally, we do not directly hand the knife to someone else. We lay it down, they pick it up. So how do we properly clean a knife in the safest way possible? Well, number one, start out with hot soapy water. Yes, you can have the water in the sink, obviously. You're not going to hold it and do it, but you're going to have the water in the sink. You're going to clean the knives after everything else in the sink is clean. That way it doesn't accidentally drop. It doesn't get lost anywhere. It's not accidentally misplaced. When everything else is clean, you're going to clean the knives after everything is done. We're not going to put the knives in cloudy, soapy water. We discussed earlier why. Knives should be left out to clean separately. Just make sure you don't lose it and make sure that you have eyes on it at all times. And then keep in mind, in my classroom, you are responsible for cleaning your own knife. So even if you didn't sign up to be the dishwasher for the day, or you decided that you're going to go ahead and wash all the dishes, if somebody else in your group was assigned a knife, the process in class is that in the knife drawer, there's a booklet that I have. Each knife is numbered, and then your name goes on that numbered list that will say student A has knife 17, and I write down the time that you check it out. Student A is in charge of that knife from when it is checked out to when it ends up back in that drawer. So even if they're not the ones washing dishes, that is the one dish along with their cutting board. So I guess technically two dishes. That is the two dishes they will wash, and the dishwasher will not wash. It is not their responsibility. Okay. Your responsibility, if you have a knife assigned to you, it is yours to use. It is yours to clean. It is yours to put away. That includes your cutting board as well. So right here, we're not going to watch a video within a video because that's like some Inception type stuff, and that just kind of gets all crazy and confusing. So this is a really cool video with Alton Brown. If you guys have ever watched him, he had a show called Good Eats. I believe he's putting the show back out, or a version of it. It's really cool because he teaches you a lot about the science behind cooking while also giving you a lot of great cooking tips at home and substitutions and things like that you can use. So it's really cool. So Potentially you're going to watch this video later on, and I'm going to reference here in just a couple of minutes. This video is really awesome as well. This is a video over, it's from Bon Appetit, and it's a ton of different knives. It's about 25 different knives and 45 different knife skills. So as cool and inventive as we think that we are, every single type of cut that you do on vegetables, meat, seafood, cakes, whatever, it all has a special name. And what defines them is the fact of their actual measurements. So 1/8 of an inch versus 1/4 of an inch versus 1/2 an inch, and everything like that. So each of those different cuts have different names. And this is just a cool video. It's about 4.5 minutes long to watch. And it shows you the different knives and the different types of cuts that those knives do. And a lot of the knives that you see here, we actually don't end up seeing the whole thing, but it's a really cool video to watch. Okay, so I'm trying something new. I'm going to see if you guys like this. But I'm going to attach your assignment to the end of this PowerPoint that we just went over. So after you hit this, what you're going to do is your assignment is to write down 10 new facts that you learned from either the Alton Brown video or the Bon Appetit video. So these two videos up here, you can watch this one and get all your facts from it. You can watch the Bon Appetit video and get all your facts from it. You can get 5 from one or 5 from the other or 8 from one or 2 from the other, whatever it is. But I want you to write down 10 new facts about knives from those videos, not from the notes, from the videos. And then you're going to click and type them right there. So you're actually going to turn in the notes and the assignment because it's all one document whenever you are finished with it. And if you have any questions, you guys know to email me. We'll talk to you later.